is not life-threatening, that is not some of that stuff, they still deal with many of the concepts I'm trying to tell you about. Maybe it's not imminent death, but they deal with the whole being offered drugs at work, or extramarital affairs, or it still exists. The compromise of sin still exists there. Does everybody understand? Do you make any questions about that? I'm just saying that from my experience, it was remote. It was specifically different, and you've got to be prepared for some of that.
Well, I think you just said, it'll be easier for us to compromise because, like you said, it's a gradual thing for us, and we won't even notice it before we're in it.
Yeah.
And so, it will be easier for us. And like you said, you went to an extreme and had to come back and you had to cope, but you just do it without thinking. It's slow.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And kind of our last talk, what we're going to talk about finally tomorrow, and it's going to be more of a discussion. Andy coined it, loading your magazine.
Actually, you talked about that, and I just was like, that sounds good.
I can only relate things I know. I do know that Paul, in talking to Timothy, and in other letters, he uses the analogy of training. The training as an athlete, training as a soldier. The athlete portion I can't really relate as much, but I can relate the soldier piece to you. We train all the time. So did the Romans during this period. They drilled constantly. And it would have been something that every civilian of the Roman Empire would have seen. They knew that soldiers, Rome was the first professional army of a nation. I mean, you had Sparta and some of those were city-states, and they didn't count. Rome was the first professional army nation. Now, they were very unethical, got it, but what Paul refers to in that is that if you're a soldier, you're a soldier. Okay? It's kind of what I'm getting at too. If you're a Christian, then you're a Christian. Train like a Christian. Like, as a soldier, we spend countless hours in training and in discipline and in preparation. And sometimes it's really hard. I can tell you. I don't run 2 miles as fast as I used to, but I have to train for it every day. There are requirements that are placed upon me that I have to do. I have to be able to do so many push-ups, so many sit-ups, and still run 2 miles under a certain amount of time. Now, as I get older, it gets a little easier. but those requirements still exist. And just in Rome's day, for the soldier, many of the same requirements, or not, they didn't have to run, but requirements existed that they had to fulfill to be a part of the Roman platoon or phalanx, or many of the things. And that's what Paul gets at when he talks about in training and in preparation. Because as a soldier and dealing in some of the situations I've dealt with in combat, the only thing that has saved my life is training. Some of the stuff that I've been trained to do. Because you train for the worst and you hope for the best. But if you don't train for the worst and you're just kind of melancholy with your training, and there are units that do that, and there are soldiers that do that. We see them all the time in our units. I had my last job, I was chief of plans for a brigade. And so I came up with all the training plans for these units to train. And I just developed the shell of the plan, the overall training plan. I gave it to the commanders ultimately to fulfill. And you saw some great commanders out there and great soldiers that put their heart into it. They tried to make the training as real as possible. They would go and they would spend their own money to get like some of the dress and the garb and Rosetta Stone. And they tried to equip their soldiers to the best capable that they could. And the soldiers took it serious. And then you had other units that just kind of like, okay, this is just something I got to do. I'm just going to kind of go on. Yeah, all right, Roger. Yeah, I got it. All right, this is what I got to do. If you do not take your training seriously, and do some of that stuff. And that's what Paul's getting at. If you're not trained hard and trained for a fight, you don't pull on your whole armor of God, and you don't learn how to use your armor. That's another thing. You can put it on and still get knocked to the ground, but if you don't know how to wield your sword, you use your shield in defense. To even in the armor that we wear today, even in fastening it and putting it on correctly, you're still going to die because you didn't put it on right, and you didn't pay attention, you didn't train with it properly. Does that make sense? Does anybody got any questions? What I was trying to get at with some of that stuff. So the challenge is what I leave you with this afternoon, because I think we got, was it 5:30?
5:30? What time is it?
Well,
you said 5:30 dinner, right?
Yeah. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, which one it was?
5:30.
What time is it right now?
We've been going for about 45 minutes right now, so.
Well, we have some time then, that's good.
So, the next challenge, we're going to be going through 1 Peter. Tomorrow morning, we're going to take a look at. Where was that? 1 Peter, chapter 1, 13 through 21. And then ending with this verse in 2 Peter, chapter 1, verse 4. So, I would encourage you sometime between now and tomorrow morning, take a look at that those verses, read through them, think about some of the things I said. I'm not going to talk as much tomorrow. I want to hear what your thoughts are. I mean, and if you don't want to participate, that's fine. It's up to you. I can only give you things I've struggled with, things I've how the world has almost consumed me, and what are you going to do in your Christian disciplines? What are things that you think that you could change in your Christian disciplines? What are things that you think that you could look at within your Christian disciplines to better equip yourselves for the fight to come? And if you think if you've arrived and you're at that place, then I'd like to hear that, because I haven't. I'd like to be enlightened of what that is. And I'm not saying that facetiously. I'm just saying, I have not. I struggle daily. Every day I am out in the world fighting for my Christian walk. It's not a joke, and it's not something that you can take lightly, because you will be devoured. I see it to brothers and sisters, unfortunately, people that I love dearly, and they become victim to a lot of stuff. They become victim to lust, pride, the vanities that we discussed, capitalism. They become, to be the top dog of their job, to be bigger than the Joneses, to have the nicer boat, or to have the better car, or religion even, to be more pious than the next person, to put on that Christian face of, I gave this much to charity this year, and I've done this, or I've shared with 30 people this month and led this many people to Christ. I mean, it's all vanity if you do not know how to make God your all. And so that's a challenge, and I would like to hear from everybody tomorrow. And I give you time to really consider and think about some of that stuff, and just thoughts.
You mentioned that in your first deployment you struggled a lot with language, and I was just wondering how you combat that now, because like with where I work, I hear language all the time, and I can feel it engulfing me, and like I curse all the time.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I've had like small curses in front of coworkers and stuff, and I've apologized for those. But at the same time, I can just feel it like overtaking me.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm not sure exactly how to combat it because I'm so surrounded by it.
Brother, I hear you. I have not mastered that. I'll be honest with you. By no means. But I have coupled it with humility. And this is something generally I'll do. One of my ticks now is I try to remain very calm, very collective through all types of adversity, circumstances. This is broke, we're all going to die. You know, it's like you try to remain really calm. It's like, okay, let's, you know, it's like, you know, or, you know, let's get this fixed. The boss is going to be furious, you know. And, you know, I got people I deal with that can be very difficult at times and really try my patience. And in doing that, like in 05, I would just fly off the handle and start dropping F-bombs all the way across. Just, I mean, what poured out of my mouth, you'd have never thought I even knew Christ. Because I could just basically tongue lash somebody with my words and what I would say. And then it's like it was something like a struggle. I didn't know how to combat that. I could read the scripture and understand that when I was in sin, I would pray for forgiveness of that sin. But later, after the third deployment and getting back, one of the things I do now is that I will personally ask for that person's forgiveness, whether they're a Christian or not a Christian, and to express humility as a way for me to kind of like, I've gone up to, and you talk about blowing some people away, is, you know, I got this one guy, Master Sergeant Boswick. I love him to death. Great guy. That he can push my buttons quicker than anybody else. That's some of the things he'll come in and tell me, because it's that Chicken Little scenario. It's like, the sky is falling, you know. And I got other things I'm trying to work on. He comes in and he's like, the sky is falling. And I'm just like, you know, and I'm trying to get other stuff done. And I want to be like, man, you got to go try to figure this out. Don't bring me a problem without a solution. Go try to work this out. When you get to the point where you've exhausted all means, then bring it to me. And 5 minutes later, he's back in my office. Sky is falling. And it was probably about 3 or 4 months ago. It was right before Christmas. He came in, and it just, like a bolt of lightning, I just exploded and just flamed him. Said a lot of things I shouldn't have said. And he's not a Christian. But yet, it was something, I was inappropriate. I was in sin. Because I tongue lashed him. And I basically, at that point, I cooled off. And I went over to his office and said, hey, Sergeant Boswick, I made it a point to meet him where he was at. In his office where he works, he has 4 of the co-workers in there. And I made it a point to humble myself and just say, Sergeant Boswick, I want to personally apologize for the way I talked to you, and I want to ask for your forgiveness, because as a Christian, what I did was unacceptable, and I should have never spoke words like that to you. That's not right, and I just want to ask for your forgiveness and ask for you to forgive me. I am truly sorry about that, and that's not the type of person that I want to be in saying this stuff. And he's like, oh, sir, it's fine, sir, it's fine, sir, it's fine. And I actually had some people that heard me pull me aside and say, hey, Major Blunt, you should never have to apologize for that. Like, you know, he wouldn't leave you alone. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand. That's not the type of leader I am. They're like, well, what do you mean? Like, and then it gives me a platform to share. I don't go around telling people, like, don't curse around me because I'm a Christian. Because you'll hear Christians that will say that too. And then all of a sudden, it's like when people say that, they're just like,